This is Robert Mardlacci of the MindShare Learning Report, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine, and welcome to this week in Canadian EdTech MindShareTV podcast on the Kwikwetlem First Nation SD43 BC and Microsoft release of the Minecraft Education Pacific Northwest Experience. I'm in conversation with Patricia Gartland, the Superintendent CEO of Kwikwetlem School Division 43, and Stephen Whiffen, the Assistant Superintendent and Chief Information Officer. Thank you for joining me this afternoon after quite a weekend you've had.
Well, thank you, Robert, for welcoming Stephen and I. And we're delighted to be speaking with you today from the traditional territories of the Kwikwetlem Nation here in Kwikwetlem, BC. Yes, it's been a very busy weekend. From tragedy often comes a wonderful, heartwarming story. We had one of our small elementary schools burned to the ground, a K-5 school. Saturday morning, early in the morning. We lost everything. We met with the staff and the community that day. And of course, it was very emotional. They're a very wonderful, motivated, close-knit staff. So they wanted to be kept together. We didn't want to send the students into other schools. So within that day, that morning, actually, we secured another site where we could keep all the students together. But the really heartwarming part is not only that we were able to quickly find a solution, but that everyone in the entire community, everyone in the schools rallied together. And on Sunday, people went in and our maintenance staff went in on their own time and renovated the whole place. We all cleaned out the place, moved furniture. Figured out all the different areas that would be needed for the students, from learning commons to offices to Zen rooms and meeting rooms. And we took over this whole resource center we had that we had been able to vacate because of our new board office that we just built last year.
Right.
And everyone got together, and donations are coming into our SD43 Education Foundation. And it is just overwhelmingly heartwarming and lovely, and these difficult times to see how people really do come together.
Well, and we're happy to support you. And I'm going to post on the chat, I believe there's a link to if someone does want to donate. So, and I think it's super important, and we were quick to get that out for you. And it really takes a village, doesn't it? And
it does.
It's about community.
Yes. And so people love this school district, so they were really able to express their love.
And quite an alumni too, I imagine.
Yes, quite extensive.
Including the two of us.
Yes. Including many leaders across Canada who went to school in Kwikwetlem.
Incredible. And it's such a great, I mean, I've spent time there. We hosted our EdTech Summit in Kwikwetlem. It's such a great community and high engagement. And that doesn't happen without a lot of effort, does it? Even within the school community, for that matter.
Exactly. Well, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, also was a student teacher and taught for a while in Kwikwetlem School District. You'll remember.
You were definitely in great company, and some notable names as well.
Well, he was in great company.
That's right. That's right. He's got challenges of his own today, but he'll get through it. But at any rate, let's shine the light on this recent announcement. And I was so impressed to see the news on your, Minecraft is making great strides and an impact on students in K-12. A number of our schools have won contests leveraging Microsoft, recreating communities of practice and school communities. And talk to me about the journey that you've been on. And I believe Louis Riel's school division provided some inspiration, and another C21 Canada member partner like yourselves.
They certainly did, and I'll have Stephen go through in more depth what this project's about. But we were inspired by the leadership of Louis Riel in Manitoba, and then we know that Indigenous cultures are very different across Canada and from nation to nation, and so we really wanted a way to engage all students, all young people, in understanding about the culture of the coastal nations and the Pacific Northwest. And so, different ecology, different environment, different traditions, animals, everything is kind of different in our area. So this is an opportunity. We thought, how will we really have students really learn about culture and in an engaging way that will attract students and also allow them to be actively involved in participating in that culture in the kind of environment they love, which is often in the digital world. And of course, we love working with Microsoft. They're so visionary. And so when we proposed this to them, they embraced the idea and were willing to support us. So without them, this wouldn't have been possible. And so we've been able to create the Pacific Northwest Coast Experience, which was launched on October 5th of this year in Canada and October 9th in the United States. And of course, our other tremendous goal is STEAM education. So here's a way to combine traditional knowledge and learnings of Indigenous peoples with STEAM. And so Stephen Whiffen is our leader in STEAM and technology, and really a brilliant visionary in terms of how to insert technology into all of our learnings and all of our work in teaching and learning in the school district. So I'll ask Stephen to explain the details of this, but we have already shown it to our students of Indigenous ancestry, and they loved it. And we're just so grateful to the Kwikwetlem Nation for all of their support, and our Indigenous Education Department, who was very involved in the creation of this wonderful learning experience.
Well, kudos to you, Patricia, for your leadership. And I think what's really fascinating is that, kids are becoming agents of change and leaders. And when you put them at the center, the sky's the limit, isn't it, Stephen?
Exactly.
It is. Okay. So really, what I wanted to share around this, first of all, it's really important to say that the stories and cultural elements that are embedded in this experience, they don't belong to me or Patricia or the district or even our Indigenous Ed team that is so important in supporting and advising and the genesis of this project. They're the stories that belong to the Kwikwetlem Nation and other nations in the territory around us that represents their history and their storytelling. And that was really important to recognize in this, because we wanted a way to connect to those stories so that all learners in our district could benefit in seeing the world through that lens, through those lenses, and also learning through those ways of learning, those Indigenous ways of learning. That is really a priority for us in this province. So it made sense that we were making investments in this area, because we're trying to find ways to respect these Indigenous ways of learning. At the same time, you had our Indigenous communities around us that wanted to tell these stories to a broader group of students as part of the learning experience. And so we very quickly saw the opportunity to bring these pieces together through technology. And that's the part for me that's so exciting, is how technology can act as a conduit for sharing and communication. And Minecraft actually turned out to be a wonderful platform for that. So when we started to sit down as a group and look at what we might do collaboratively using technology to share these stories and engage in Indigenous ways of learning, very quickly Minecraft became part of the central conversation, because the kids really feel at home in the Minecraft environment. It's something most of them are doing away from school. And B, it's this wonderful low floor, high ceiling environment where any student can be brought into it to do activities that are pre-created and pre-organized, but at the
Right.
same time transition into their own creation experiences.
Wow.
And that really supports the type of learning that we want to encourage.
Absolutely. And so what grade levels would the sweet spot be for this particular?
Well, I think it's pretty broad when you look at the opportunities in this, but most of the focus is in kind of that grade 4 to 8 area for this,
Right.
so kind of those middle years.
Yeah. And when you enable students to be creators, it's incredible. We host a number of students here through the year that are involved in co-op and internships, both at the high school and university college level. And the, I've never been so much more optimistic about the future when we have engagement with these kids and the talent and the learning and the passion that they have to be creators of their future.
That's exactly right, and that's why, you know, this combination of having some pre-designed cultural experience that engages them not only in cultural elements but importantly curricular elements, and then pulls them into that experience to do some base level learning, but then apply it through the process of creation. That's what makes Minecraft such a beautiful platform for accommodating that.
And you know, and we've explored the Indigenous ways, and we spent time in Winnipeg at the Human Rights Museum, and last or 2 years ago at a conference. And one of the things I really appreciated was the notion of storytelling, right? How that got lost in the industrial model of education. But finally, I sense we're getting it back, and this gives them agency. And what a wonderful storytelling tool and project that you've embarked on this journey.
Yeah, and one of the there are some fundamental differences in this particular project and some of those that preceded it. You know, the obvious one is it's a different environment. We didn't have that place to tell stories in that was set in a Pacific Northwest coastal peoples context,
Right.
and you can't tell stories about this place using somebody else's environmental context.
Absolutely.
So it was really important that that gets addressed, and the kind of biome that exists here didn't previously exist in Minecraft. You know, you couldn't use prairie to represent that, but you couldn't even use some of the ocean environment elements that already existed in Minecraft either, because where we are here, it's this combination of river valley, river delta, and then shallow coastal areas with lots of islands. All of those elements are fundamental to the storytelling here. But there was another piece that was really an important distinction from previous projects as well, and that's that we took a fundamentally different pedagogical approach. Any of the previous projects that you see are a story unto themselves. There's a beginning, and then the students go through a series of really engaging activities, and then they end up at the end of the game, if you will.
Right.
We decided not to take that approach. We actually wanted to design it as a platform, almost like a gamified LMS, where there's kind of a home base starting point. And that's a longhouse. So the one common experience children have when they go into it is they start at this longhouse and they interact with a series of elders there who tell them those initial stories. But as they interact with those elders, they're challenged to go out in different directions, and then spread throughout the world. We've placed Indigenous story-based curriculum-focused learning experiences
Amazing.
where the kids can go and they can do some math engaging in an Indigenous cultural experience in one place, engage in literature doing Indigenous focused experience in another place. And each of those learning elements, these little micro stories, if you will, each one is designed to be a low floor, high ceiling project where they engage with a virtual elder who tells the story, who gives them a challenge. That challenge is maybe scraping off a cedar bark to build a basket. And then they do that, and then they get creative, and then they're challenged to use that knowledge to do something bigger. So that all of that learning occurs. We created 3 different learning objects, if you will, learning experiences.
Right.
But because we've designed the world as a platform, we can just keep adding. And then we get more Indigenous storytelling in it. We get more curricular elements to it. And in that sense, it can become an entire collection of learning experiences that every teacher, regardless of what you're working on in terms of curricular priority, can go into and do something that relates to the learning they're working on in their classroom today through that Indigenous lens, and have it really engaging, powerful, and meaningful for kids.
Brilliant. And you've made this available across North America and beyond, so for other Indigenous communities to be inspired, no doubt.
Yeah. So if you have access to Minecraft for Education, which I believe now, most school districts across North America and probably Europe and Asia do, then you simply go into the collection of pre-made materials in Minecraft. It's just a starting screen.
Right.
You type in Pacific Northwest Coast Experience, and it comes up and it says, do you want to install this world in Minecraft for Education? And it does it. It's as simple as that. Very, very easy to do.
Well, fantastic. And what's next on this journey?
Yeah, so our team is actually presenting to a group here called FNESC, which is the First Nations Education Steering Committee, in order to
for the province of
British Columbia. Yeah, not for our district, for the province, who have expressed interest in seeing how they can continue to contribute to it. And I've already received contact from a few of the groups outside of our local Kwikwetlem Nation, who are the core contributors to this at this point, with other First Nations groups that have ideas on learning objects that they'd like to see, those mini storytelling experiences that I talked about. And I think there's going to be some appetite for putting some more resource into developing some of those going forward. We're really excited about the opportunity that it could represent.
Well, with that, I'm grateful of your time today, Patricia and Stephen, given all that's going on and dealing with the recent fire and looking after those kids getting settled into, and teachers getting settled into a new building.
You're a priority, Robert.
Yeah, so I'm so impressed with how agile you are as leaders and making it happen.
Thank you. I think you have to be really nimble in the world of the 21st century, don't you?
Yeah.
And the only thing that'll help you to be nimble is technology.
Yeah, I think this is a great demonstration of the value and the impact of the tools to engage kids in where they're at in meaningful ways, and to paint a picture and tell a story of their generation and their history, and capturing that. So kudos to you for your leadership again.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for this opportunity to tell our story. And we really hope everyone will try our Minecraft Pacific Northwest Coast experience.
And
Pleasure.
I just want to take this last opportunity to also say thank you to our partners at the Kwikwetlem Nation that made this possible, as well as Microsoft, who made the investment, and there was a lot of development involved in this. They needed to create the cedar trees and the eagles and the bears, right, and also important call out to Logix Academy, who I know you've worked with, who their team actually did the development itself, funded by Microsoft, and just amazing work on their part. Very high skilled team. Really, really a great thanks to them for the work that they've done.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Patricia and Stephen. That was Patricia Gartland, the Superintendent and CEO of Kwikwetlem School Division 43, and Stephen Whiffen, the Assistant Superintendent, newly minted. Congratulations on that role, and Chief Information Officer. With that, be sure to check out www.mindsharelearning.com to get your latest issue of the Mindshare Learning Report. And do join us November 2nd and 3rd at the Canadian EdTech Summit in Ottawa. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.
Thank you, Robert.